Hello, it's Michael Watts here, and in this video I'm answering the question, what is a modified dreadnought? The term modified dreadnought is a mysterious one that most people encounter for the first time, possibly in the dark depths of an internet-based guitar forum. As such, there's quite a lot of ambiguity and perhaps misunderstanding when it comes to the modified dreadnought, or MD, as it's otherwise known. The modified dreadnought design is the creation of a single individual, the luthier Ervin Somogyi, who builds exquisite handmade guitars from his workshop in Oakland, California. Here's a clip from an interview that I shot with Ervin as part of my Luthier Stories documentary series, and in it he talks about the first sparks that led to the creation of the modified dreadnought.
I came up with a design, an altered design for what had been the dreadnought. This was a dreadnought-sized soundbox, but reshaped so it had a more definite waist that would sit on the lap, and the center of gravity, the center of balance was higher up, so the physical balance was better. And I try to pay attention to the acoustic and dynamic elements, the working of the top and the bracing.
You may also be familiar with the Somogyi name in the context of his apprentices. Ervin has, for want of a better word, fathered a dynasty of extraordinarily talented guitar makers who have learned from him at his workshop for a minimum of around 2 years before establishing their own brands. And of course, several of these preternaturally talented individuals do offer their own take on the modified dreadnought design. A quick aside, but I think it's a point worth making. Each of the Somogyi apprentices has a unique and personal style of guitar making. As such, anybody ordering an instrument in the expectation of receiving a cheap Somogyi is going to be disappointed, and in fact I think that approach does a disservice to everybody involved. Right, that's it, rant over. No, there's another one coming up. Perhaps inevitably, given its status as an iconic luthier-made guitar, there are now quite a few builders who offer an MD model or something like it. However, I wouldn't feel entirely comfortable recommending the work of anyone who cannot draw a direct line to Ervin himself, who may not appreciate the complexities of the model, or even its suitability for you as a player. While the modified dreadnought is generally considered to be a modern instrument, the design has been around for over 40 years now. You know, at one point things got really weird. The term modified itself became something of a buzzword, and I started seeing all sorts of strange guitars coming out called modified OMs, modified jumbos, modified double O's, basically modified anything, which sort of missed the point. My first experience with the modified dreadnought was in 2009 at the Montreal Guitar Show. Ervin invited me to play at the launch of his new books, which I can thoroughly recommend if you have any interest in the acoustic guitar whatsoever. The guitar that I played that night is believed to be the first completed modified dreadnought in existence, and it was originally built for Daniel Hecht, who at the time was a performing artist for the Windham Hill label.
about Daniel Heck that impressed me is he'd had formal musical training. He'd gone to a conservatory. And he had a sense of musicality and timbre and dynamic range that he could articulate. And he'd say, listen to this. Can you hear that? See how flat that sounds? I want something that's got more sparkle.
Right.
Or when I play this passage here, first I play it loud, and then I echo it, playing it more softly. And I want a guitar that will keep up with me when I do that.
Absolutely.
So I took that in and built him a guitar. I sweated blood on that guitar. I mean, I really thought and worked as hard as I could. Evidently, I hit the nail on the head because he was very happy with the result. And a new model of guitar was born.
There you go. Were you responsible for the pedal-powered capo setup?
I signed an NDA about that, and I'm forbidden from talking about it.
That guitar now resides in the National Music Museum at the University of South Dakota. If you get the chance to visit, please do say hi from me. As I've said in the past, this experience left me very much with a modified dreadnought-shaped hole in my heart, and when the time came to order a custom guitar from Somogyi Apprentice Jason Kostal, I knew what I had to choose. I recently made a video exploring the traditional Martin Dreadnought design as a fingerstyle instrument and came to the following conclusions. I can't help but get the feeling that my gentle touch and short polished nails just aren't getting the best of this guitar. The shape and size of the instrument, the nut width, the neck carve, the string spacing at the saddle, and the way it was voiced and braced were all working against me as a solo fingerstyle player in the way that I approach the instrument. Let's zoom in and take a look at the MD from the player's point of view. So just sitting with the guitar in my lap, it immediately feels a lot more comfortable than the Martin Dreadnought did. The tighter waist here ensures that the guitar is comfortable on the lap, but it also sits a little bit lower down. As such, my arm doesn't feel nearly as out of place as it did with the D35. Of course, it's worth bearing in mind that my guitar also features Linda Manz's wedge design for even further ergonomic goodness. You can find out more about that in another video right here on my channel. The issues that I'd had with the Martin when it comes to nut width and neck carve have been fully addressed. This guitar has a 1.75 inch nut width and more than enough string spacing for me to fret comfortably and accurately. As you can see here, I have a wider string spacing, 2¼ inches for my right hand by the saddle, and that makes life a lot easier for fingerstyle, especially for techniques like nail returns, which happen kind of automatically now. Obviously we've got this beautiful Florentine cutaway as well, allowing me to play all the way up here without impediment, although that may be the first time I've actually done it. It also has a relatively deep neck by modern standards, but it's a carve that I find very comfortable, especially on a 14 fret instrument. Now, from the point of view of voicing and response, this is far more than just a glorified D18, as you'll see. There's a slightly shorter scale length at work here, it's 25.25 inches, and that in conjunction with the hybrid lattice braced soundboard allows me to explore some textures that I find very beautiful indeed. One thing that the Modified Dreadnought is famous for is the bass response, and this can be pretty big. And some players do admit to finding this a little much to deal with. Despite all that bass, once you learn to handle one, a Modified Dreadnought can actually be a very balanced instrument. But of course there's power to enjoy when you want it. Having played a Modified Dreadnought for over 10 years, my experience has been that the main advantage of this beautiful design is in headroom. Yes, there is a huge bass, should you wish. Yes, there is a massive dynamic range, and the instrument can get really quite aggressive if you need it to. And yes, there is a correspondingly enormous timbral spectrum to explore as well, but you don't have to use it all the time. There's space for restraint and control. Now, if you found this video interesting, educational, or even entertaining, please do subscribe to support my channel. The topic of the evolution of design in the acoustic guitar, well, it always brings out some interesting discussions, so drop me a like and let me know your thoughts about traditional versus modern guitar styles. Until next time, stay tuned.